like, so like sometimes I'm using stretch. You can see like, this is like a bouncing ball, right? It's just a stretch frame on that, squash there, and it bounces. These are all bouncing balls. Stretch in there, boop, boom, right? Squash there. The sticks are a little more stiff. But if we go to Olaf's head, which is going to be the main focus, look at all these sausages. So I'm stretching there, right? So it's not a smear frame, but it's a stretch frame. So it's kind of the same function, so that I can really smack into the ground. But because it's such a long distance for the face, which you recognize, I tried to keep his eyes closed and his mouth simple here, so that especially when it rendered, it would feel pretty much all white, so nothing would flash. But I really want to be able to smack into the ground, but the spacing is so big that I use the sausage as kind of like a multiple or a smear frame there. Same with there, getting that drag, that change of the C curve. And then it's kind of like, again, it's instead of like stretching the sausage, I just used another one. And in hopes that I get like a nice motion blur. And then it's back to normal as it drops again. Again, this is like a big distance for the head. I wanted it to stay up here a little longer as it dragged. I'm using the mouth and everything as a stretch frame. But that distance between the eyes is pretty substantial. So it would smear a little bit, but I wanted just a little bit more. But then you don't see it, right? You're just going to feel that. Poof. And he has a little squash on his cheeks. So he has that same kind of feel. His eyes pull him up, right? His brow is leading. You can see this corner of the brow leading the way. His mouth drags behind. Its eyebrow lids. His mouth drops and then comes back up. Then he looks. I'm making sure, even though the eyes, if I just look, this eye would be like right here. I'm pushing that pupil further, more like a cartoon, to get that clean look without burying. If I just use this eye would be buried inside the skull. If I just use this eye would be looking like here. And so I'm pushing it and even scaling the eyes there. Again, you get, this looks like he's about to sneeze. Sausage. Got that double sausage going. I'm making sure the feet go into the ground here with the wolf, so he's going to kick up snow. I'm making the mouth real big, just overtaking, and it's kind of in the same place on screen, so you can register it for 2.5 frames, and then chomp, it's closed. But really wide, again, wide as he impacts, and then and in the snow, so it creates a trail. Also, storytelling-wise, he's so close to getting the sausage, right? I'm making sure with the posing, the mouth is cut out with this nice profile. Same with that. I'm getting this kind of arc instead of like a big gummy mouth. You can see I'm doing the multiples in the legs. It's kind of like a lot on the transition, but then it kind of builds into itself. Then even some are like, I was going from like here to forward. So it's important that I switch the arc too, so you know it's dragging, so you know what direction it's going in. But then you have that frame of, okay, that's the run. There's a little bit of bend, like flexibility to the arms, but they're not bending. It's not, I know Kim, I think, uploaded an awesome like flamingo kind of run. But his legs don't bend, or his sticks don't bend. So it was important to me, and I thought it would be funnier if it really just got that kind of feel. But to register that's hard. So then he sticks the landing, they bend a little bit. Again, I got multiples on the sausage. There, it's kind of switching the direction, so I chose to have the sausage that direction, and then it switches. The body is kind of jumping on its own as he pulls that, and the leg is kind of magnetized to the body. We see this in the film and things like that, where even when he runs, right, it's his legs will sometimes stick and then come back. They're connected but disconnected. It's like there's limbs between, but you're only seeing it. So you have that stretch frame, the squash, and it's almost like the impact is what helps push the body into the head. But then it starts to reach out like legs would. They disconnect a little bit. He looks back. I think that was a note I got, which made it way better. This other leg, instead of magnetizing the other leg, he just kind of lands on it, and then he starts going. Jumps on, and this is just about the feeling of seeing that of those legs. And then he kind of almost slips on it. Whoa. And then as his body comes down, his legs kind of go around it in a clean way. But then it all kind of tumbles together. Whoa. And then his feet are kicking. Oh, it is in there. And again, the arms too, they like go up, but then they kind of connect to the main body that they're gonna be connected to. But they land and become kind of sled or skis, sorry. And then the back feet are just doing their circular motorboaty thing. Not too big, not too small, into the grass. And then the way these wolves come in, you can see where he's going towards Olaf. It's not just a body coming in, where he's seeing like, oh, this feels like, oh, I'm gonna eat Olaf. So it's giving you that feeling even if you don't think about it. And even this one coming in, you can see register those teeth, and he's kicking up the snow. But then when you go to the render, and this is prior to the real render, you can see like that was the sneeze frame. You're not seeing two sausages, right? It's just it's telling the motion blur what to do. Not there. I don't know what's happening here. It's a broken render, obviously. But yeah, like you can see these sausages, the ones that are separate, but you can't really see the double ones too often. And when you watch it, you're not going to see any of it. You're just going to feel it. And then with the lighting, it's even darker. So like you don't see it there, but again, that's that frame. And now that it's rendered too, you can really see that clean cutout of the mouth. Try to do that with like profile. Same with the eyes, again. Like you can see the black pupils. It feels like a drawing, right? If you drew an eyeball looking. In reality, if I was looking this way, you probably wouldn't really see my pupils, and you'll see that a lot in CG. But if you drew the eyes, you'd always just put the pupil as like kind of a line, like an elongated line. And so that's what I'm trying to do here. It's a little bit of a 3/4 head. Everything's kind of like twisted in a way. Again, you don't see these multiples. It's just to, you see them when you frame through, but you don't really see it when it's playing. It just feels like motion, right? It just feels like... There's also a build up to the speed. It's not just chip, 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 chip. It's jump. So there's even rhythm in that motion. And I'm not doing a crazy amount of up and down, but it's enough. This is where, like a cube, I'm really just supporting the motion of the body, right? It's not necessarily accurate. And then I'm adding, I'm kind of getting the body like this, then adding a little overlap on the face and the head, so it feels like it's reacting and connected. And then the legs are just kind of doing their thing. That's the other nice part about them not bending is it's just about the motion. And with this, it was important that you registered this pose of it feeling, the legs feeling separate. So I really tried to kind of smear the in-betweens. It also gave it like a little more power. But yeah, you don't like see all this junk. Again, there's a multiple, but it just feels like a motion blur. There's no multiple here, and it feels like motion blur. I don't think there is, at least. I don't even know. But yeah,